else. This is DJ Wolf Live. I haven't done a live cast in probably a minute. I got other videos I need to upload anyway, but this video or this subject compelled me to do a video about Carnival Cruise Line. A company that a cruise line that I have frequented at least twice in my life. The first time was 2006. I think the next one after that was 2023. Yeah. And I know I did Royal Caribbean the other two times. But nevertheless, I've had experience with Carnival Cruise Line. The second time, there was an incident that happened. I don't know what happened. All I know is a guy was running across the boat from the food line all the way to the pool, and security was chasing me. He almost ran into me. But I can tell you right up front, wholeheartedly, while there are rules that are put in place among all that water, okay? Because you're out to sea. You're literally out to sea when you're a cruise line. And it's beautiful at day, it's beautiful at night, somewhat, if you can see. But the problem is at night, it's completely dark. So there are rules in place. And there are reasons why you should have them. You know, now one of the things that I never understood with Carnival is they had that, unlimited drinking package. That was kind of weird. I thought that was something that even when I did the last cruise on Carnival, I thought that's something that could actually can go left with some people, which is one of the reasons why I didn't do it. Thank goodness. Not that I can't control my liquor. I don't do a whole lot of drinking, but when I do, I could get a little sloppy drunk. But I'm glad I didn't do that. I'm so glad I didn't go that route, to be honest. But nevertheless, I don't have experience with Carnival cruises, and some of those people can get a little crazy. I haven't personally seen it per se that was really wild, and that's whether you black or white or whatever. I have never seen it. Not to say it don't happen. I'm sure it does, and I'm sure it has. So, but people got to follow rules. That's what rules are for. Rules are not just because they want you to abide by them, to make sure everybody have a pleasant time, but it's for your safety. It's for the safety of you. It's for the safety of the people who run the ship. It's for the safety of everybody, and for people to have a joyful good time. When you got 100 people standing in the middle of the hallway dancing and stuff like that, I mean, come on. Or people throwing chairs in the middle of the food court while they're trying to eat, over some old bullshit. You gotta make rules. And then you got black people use that thing about, oh, Carnival's racist. So all of a sudden they became racist when you got the discount to go on there, to go on a mini cruise for maybe a couple of days, and now you have a problem with Carnival Cruise saying that they're racist because they were doing restrictions. I don't have a problem with it. Now, the rap music thing, you can go left and right with that. It doesn't matter to me. I'm a DJ by trade, so I do play rap music. I have a ton of rap music in my repertoire. Some of it I like, some of it I think it's trash. I ain't even front. And that's by some of the bigger name artists, to tell you the truth. But to each his own. And like I said, there's a gray area about not playing rap music. That's another whole story. It doesn't really matter to me. But as far as everything else, I totally agree with them all. Curfews in place for kids. That should be in it. That should be, and then 1 o'clock I think is too late anyway. You might as well just make at least midnight. But my thing of it is, rules aren't meant to be broken. You have to follow rules. I mean, if they feel that the people are getting out of line, Because I even seen instances where white folks were acting up on Carnival Cruise. So I don't think that rules apply to just black people. Like I said, I've been on Carnival, a few times. It is a little bit ratchet. It's not as wild as some people might think it is, but I've seen videos where people do get out of control, and not just black people, white people too. They need rules, And some of y'all people think, oh, well, that's all right, you just won't get my money. Good. Go someplace else you think gonna put up with your bullshit. You have to realize people, people want to be able to have a good time, but they don't want to see you get to a point where you just wild out. You want wild out, stay your ass at home. Yeah, I said it. Hey, Skins Gang. Hey, what's going on? SKS Gaming. But, I'm just saying, I'm just talking about this Carnival thing, Rules aren't meant to be broken, okay? They have to have rules in place, otherwise you would be unsafe on that boat. Your safety would be at risk. That's why the rules are in place. That's the number one thing you have to understand without getting your feelings hurt about Carnival is being racist. Carnival's not being racist. They eliminate the fans from the boots on the ground dance there because they don't want people to get hit by the fans, because some of y'all do get out of control. And it's a reflection on our community, to be honest, folks, because the stuff that y'all do on the boat is the same they do in our communities all the time. But certain things you can't do outside communities that you do everywhere else. Certain things I don't think personally you should do in a public place like that, especially on a boat, because there are a lot of things that can happen on the boat that could actually cause you bodily harm or possible death in some cases. There's just certain things you just don't do. And I don't blame Carnival. I don't blame them at all. I've never had any racial bias from Carnival. The only time that I had an issue with Carnival was the one time that the first time we went on Carnival and we were supposed to be going to the Bahamas, and they shortened our freaking trip because they claimed that the boat was leaking oil, and they turned the boat around and went back. And guess what they did after they turned the boat around and went back? They started another cruise on the same boat. True story. That was my very first cruise at that, 2006. Now, Carnival is known for having problems on the ships. Not just with people, but mechanical issues. There have been a few of them that's been kind of known. I actually watched the documentary, The Poop Cruise. Good Lord. I'm going to tell you right up front. Don't eat too heavy if you watch The Poop Cruise on Netflix. It's currently on Netflix right now. My God, my God. Ugh. Hey, SKS Gamer, I did respond to you. I'm sorry. I'm actually on the road right now, so if I didn't respond to you, I apologize. But anyway, cruising on the boat, if you hadn't already done it, is a beautiful thing, man. You get to see all that clear water when you get away from the city and stuff, and you get out in the ocean. You get to go places you've never been before, these islands and stuff. My last cruise was on another cruise ship, where we did the New England cruise, man. That was a great cruise, man. It was 9 days, had a great time on a different cruise line. And the fact there was no debauchery or anything like that, it was just straight cruising. While the older folks was on the ship, it was just some really sweet people, man. Even the female maitre d's at a couple of the restaurants we went to were really nice to us, man. Best cruise I ever went on. It was part of our anniversary cruise. And I think we're going to do another one in a couple of years, though. All these folks, I swear. Yeah. So we're going to do a second cruise. I mean, not a cruise. We'll do our fifth cruise. At some point, I don't know when. And I don't think it's going to be Carnival anyway. But that's another whole story. But, like I said, Carnival has a right to say, if you're not going to follow the rules, we change them. You know, certain things trigger things. I think is the reason why it caused them to change their mind and say, you know what, we are not going to be doing that no more. We're going to restrict some things here. You know, if you want to act a fool every time we play music and stuff like that, we're going to cut it, whatever it takes. But people worry about what they want to do with country music. Okay, I ain't seen a whole bunch of white folks fighting on that, and I've been on 4 cruises. I ain't seen none of that from white folks. I have not. I've even seen girls walking around half-ass naked on the cruise ships. I've seen that myself. I saw it on the last Carnival cruise. Girl thumb was so high, man. Only thing you could see was ass. Trust me on that. So yeah, they are. It's a little crazy on that. But I just feel personally that I think people need to take accountability for their own actions. You know, and the mass number of people they put on there. But people try to blame Carnival for, you know, oh, well, you would have this problem if you had to, you know, have been given budget prices for people to ride the cruise. But then y'all be complaining about it. Y'all discriminate against blacks because we can't afford to get on there. It'd be one thing or the other. You know, and like I said, they're not racist. I can tell you that from personal experience, being on 2 or 4 cruise ships, and 2 happen to be Carnival. I've never had that problem. Never, ever. Not with the guests, other guests, not with the services, not with anybody. And I partied on Carnival. Matter of fact, the first cruise I was on, I partied on it for 2 straight nights. Got pissy drunk, didn't get to no bar fights with nobody. It was all chill. Yup. It was. Wasn't a whole bunch of drama on there, man. Wasn't a whole bunch of drama. It really wasn't. Loved it. Loved it. I really did. So, but the excuses about, oh, this other. Look at yourself. Look at what you're doing. Look what you do when you get on these ships. Look how you act towards people, man. You want girls shaking twerking on your kid, around your kids. And some of them women so wretched they twerk around with their kids. You know, just saying. But I seen some of the videos. Some of the videos was just like very unbecoming of us, man. You know, and we ought to take accountability of other people's, you know, sensitivities and stuff when you do that stuff. Do it at home. Doing no car before anyway, twerking. Turn up. I can't turn up. Okay. Turn up means you gotta get so pissy drunk that you fighting with people. Turn up means because somebody had a chair that you had and you ain't have a claim to it by name or anything like that. You turn up. You know. Turn up don't mean cutting the line in front of people to get food. Stuff like that. This is crazy to me. You know, Tommy Sotomayor, who was a former YouTuber, used to say, "Where there's 3, I won't be." and trust me, I've been in a situation like that before. You don't want to be around where it's just you up against 3 other people. So, but yeah, it's I don't know. Like I said, I don't have a problem with the rules. If you have a problem with the rules, excuse my language, stay the fuck off the damn cruise. Yeah, DJ Wolf said it. If you have a problem with the new rules, I don't know why. Grow up. Stop being so damn childish. Be an adult for once in your damn life, and stop thinking turn up means just showing out and tearing up people's property and fighting for no reason. You know, turn up, if that's what you call turn up, that don't give you the right to do that. It don't. Yes, I'm calling it out. If you don't like it, stay your ass off the damn boat. and I'm standing on it. Stay your ass on the boat. I'm sick of people playing. You can't turn up. You can't turn up. Yeah, you can go out. I mean, that's what they got club for you. If you want to turn up and have a good time, that's what you got to go club for. All right. No, you cannot play your music over on top of everybody's music. It sounds stupid. It sounds like you're back at home. No, that's ridiculous. They don't want you doing that. You shouldn't do that. Get yourself. A matter of fact, if preference is, get yourself a pair of headphones and listen to your own music in your own ears. Or all y'all just, Bluetooth to the same phone or whatever. With your own headphones or whatever. Do that. Stop complaining. Because nobody want to hear not everybody listens to the same kind of music. That's why they're telling you that. I don't have a problem with that. But y'all, some of y'all folks out here, and I do mean some of y'all folks, are so damn immature that everything has to be the way you want it to be, instead you just are complying to rules. That's the problem with our culture now. Everybody want to just do whatever the fuck they want to do and not follow rules. Yeah, literally. That's what our culture likes doing. We don't want to conform to anything. That's why your community is in such upheaval right now, because you don't want to follow rules. Yeah, I said it. You don't want to follow rules. That's a part of the problem right there. Always want to turn up, don't want to follow no rules, don't want to do what nobody tell you to do. That's why your life is a fucking mess for many of us. That's why you can't get your shit together, because you don't want to follow rules. It's really a shame, because some of them don't know how to follow rules, because some of them weren't raised to follow rules. Some of us wasn't. That's true story. I ain't saying nothing out of turn. Y'all know I'm not. But it's time that some of us did. Nothing wrong with having a good time. I like to have a good time as much as the next man, much as the next person. I do. I really do. But you gotta be respectful of other people's, privacies and sensitivities, man. You have to. You're supposed to. Turn up don't mean you can just impose on anybody, on people, man. What y'all doing out here? Y'all be like y'all can't drive, man. I swear. Y'all literally act like y'all cannot drive out here. What are we doing? What the? Oh my God. These people can't drive, I swear. They cannot drive. Slow down? Ooh, what's that? But, I had somebody who was on there, somebody was watching, and then I left. I don't care. You don't like what I say? Fine. I'm just going to tell it like it is. Carnival has every intention of making it safer for everybody to have an enjoyable time. I understand that. Don't want nobody want you bringing no Bluetooth speakers for everybody to hear something that they don't want to hear. Some of y'all don't like country music. Some of y'all don't like rock music. Some of us don't like rap music. Some of us don't like R&B music. So put on your damn headphones if you can't bring your Bluetooth speaker. So what? That's Carnival's rules. They have a right to have rules, and those rules don't impose to you racially. The rap music might be questionable, but to be honest, there's some rap music out there that's trash. Not all, but there's some that's pure trash. And I can honestly say it because I listen to quite a bit of it. Some of they should be playing anyway. All the cuss words on half of these songs. For real. And it's not age appropriate in many cases. It's not. That's why I don't have a problem with telling you not to play it. But of course you got those so-called pro-blacks who gonna say, well, they white thought they cuss on. I've heard a lot of country music. I don't hear them curse on a lot of country music. I don't hear them curse on a lot of rock, to tell you the truth. I'm not saying it don't happen. But the bulk majority of those genres, I don't hear it. But I hear it on a lot of rap records, though. That's why I say I don't blame them. I mean, I could go on the fence with it, but to be honest, I don't have a problem with Mark. I don't. I truly don't. Because there's some rap music that is so offensive, it's not even funny. And that's the other thing. These people who be trying to turn up on everyone on the boat gotta understand. There are kids on the boat. There are children on the boat. You know, so yeah, you gotta have some decorum about you. You know, I'm just sick of us always thinking we can just do what we want just because of what our ancestors and forefathers had to deal with. No. Even they want you to be respectful. You know? And I don't blame them for that. Even they want you to be respectful. It's ridiculous, man. Look at your life and see why your life is not where it is, and see what Turnip did for you. As a result, because you didn't want to do nothing. Some of y'all didn't want to do nothing else. Some of y'all don't even want to go to school. I had some in-laws years ago told me that. You know, when I was going back to try to get my degree, you know, they're talking about, oh, school hard. Yeah, I said life was hard too. That's why I went back to school. You know, just saying. They look at me like, oh, I don't think I can do that. And I was doing it at night, catching 2 buses and the train at night by myself. And then had to get up 6 hours later to work. You know, and I made that sacrifice for 2 years. Don't tell me you can't do it. You know, that's another whole story. But you know, you have to. It's something called commitment. Some of us ain't willing to do that. And I know some people personally who ain't willing to do that. They ain't willing to put the mind and get to the business of getting yourself right. Or get your life right, like my girl Tamar said. Get your life right. Best thing I've ever heard anybody say. Celebrity, not celebrity. Get your life right. I give her credit for that, man. It's a great statement. You know? And let me tell you a little bit personal about me. I grew up in a dysfunctional family, man. Cleveland. I have no problem saying that. And I was told growing up, you know, let's call everything but the son of God as a young child. You know, if I didn't figure out how to do a certain thing, task right, and we talking about me being 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years old. You know, and you're supposed to be led by example, but not trash because you didn't know how to do a certain task. You're still learning. You know, and people don't understand. This person, I mean, my father, don't understand. I'm still a kid, still learning things. You know, I'm not going to be where you're at that point. But he was, you know, he kind of was expecting me to be kind of at that point at my age. So he used to talk about, oh, well, you know, when I was a kid, I had mother with, I did this, that, and the other. You know, he was doing a long speech, man, about that. And it made me feel very inadequate as a young kid, young child, man, trying to go up and fill the shoes and at the same time trash me because I couldn't pick up a certain task that where I was supposed to. And you're supposed to be teaching me that. But to make a long story short, I kind of felt like I wasn't really in my corner at the time, man. And I got thrown in the bus and got put down a lot. As a result for trying to figure things out, trying to be able to learn things. Just instead of you help me learn, you help build me, you help tear me down. You know, and it took me a long time to get my head out of that hole. Because I was in a dark place. I was in a sunken place because of that. You know, it took me a long time to get my head out of that space. Long time. And I said, you know what? I'm not doing it necessarily to prove something against him. I'm doing it because I know I'm better than what he said I am. And that's what I did. That's the thing we got to get ourselves together to do as individuals. And not worry about, well, oh, my daddy wasn't here or my mom wasn't here. You got to worry about what you got to do at some point in your life and get your headspace right and get your life right. You know? Because life ain't one big party all the damn time. It's not. Some of us do believe that, but it's not. You know, DJing is one of the things I love doing. But there's other things that help me sustain what I do as a DJ too. It's called a job, you know. So, just saying though, man. You know, people gotta, you know, you can't use the excuse about, well, I grew up this, you know. That's on my mom. That's another whole story, you know. But I heard a story about, oh, well, I did this and that, blah blah. I said, look, that ain't got nothing to do with the way you act towards other people. Period. You can't use that as an excuse. You know, that's another whole story. I could go all day about stuff like that. Now I'm gonna give a big shout out to Sean James. He did a podcast several years ago, and I just had to pull it up on YouTube this morning about how families can be your worst enemy. He was talking about that. And I read some of the comments that even I made on there about it, man. I eventually did do a podcast about that in detail. And big shout out to Sean James, man. He's probably one of the realest YouTubers I've ever not only spoken to before, but his game is on point. He's a publisher, a self-made publisher and writer, and he needs to really people need to give him his props, man. And I'm wishing nothing but genuine success for that brother, you know, because he knows his stuff. He knows what he speaks, very much so, you know. And he's one of the first YouTubers that actually made me feel like I was part of a community, like I was being heard. So big shout out to that brother, Sean James. Yeah, but hey, go buy his books. But anyway, so that's why I kind of expounded on that. But a lot of us got the excuse about why you do this, why you do that. No. How about doing what you need to do and make things right for yourself and your family? But definitely yourself, you know, because you can't worry about where you came from, it's where you go after that, you know? You can't worry about where you came from, you know, you're dealing with that. Because what I had to do was cut out some of the mess that I dealt with my family. And I had to cut out family at some point. I had to, you know? It was not something I wanted to do, but it was something I had to do. And I kind of think, and I found over the years, that I think for the most part, my family didn't really give a fuck. No, once they saw me doing what I was doing, they were like, oh, you know, ain't deal with that. But I know, I can honestly say, my mother was just somebody who just has a very jealous heart over the years. Been like that for a very long time anyway, and continues to be like that now. To this day, I'm still not sure why. It's another whole story, but you know, it's kind of hard to deal with somebody who's always jealous of any and everything you've ever tried to do the last 25, 30 years, and then never thought that you were going to be amount to much of anything anyway. That's the even bad part about it. You know, they never thought you were. They wanted to see you, you know, continue to struggle, and they could say, "Oh, there, baby," blah blah blah. Well, you know. I don't know. It just... So let me tell you about this. I went to a cookout last week. A couple of our closest church. They were pointing at me. A couple of our closest church friends had invited over, and you know, and their family are so welcoming and loving, man. And I'm like, and I thought about that, and it's like, and somebody said that it's not about where you came from, it's about who you with, who you ride with as family. Your family don't have to be family that necessarily raise you, because you got some families that are so trifling, man, that you know, and they're not loving, they're very mean-spirited, and you know, you have to break the cycle. Somebody said, it's true, you had to break that cycle. It took me a long time to do that, man. A long time. You know. Now, I'm gonna say it, you know, my kids and us, you know, we're on a decent footing. It's not. I don't think it was as bad as it was with me living home with my folks, but I did what I could. Did do the right thing, did the best I could do. You know, but he turned out pretty. It turned out pretty good, and for the most part, yeah. But my thing of it is, you have to break that cycle. You can't, because you was around that environment, don't mean you got to raise your kids around the same environment. And I tell my son, I said, you got to do, you can't, you got to be the 2.0. I tell him that. I used to tell him that all the time. Be a 2.0 your father wasn't. Just take it to the next level. That's basically what I'm saying. And sometimes you have to do that. Sometimes you have to take what you did as a parent to the next level, so that your child can take it to the next level with their kid. Not to say that you stop raising them or anything. It's not about not raising them. It's about you doing maybe a better level of raising them. Getting more involved in helping them move along in school and development of their, of their well-being, so they can sustain to become the adult that they need to become and stay in their lives. So I don't know, guys, man. All I'm saying is, you gotta stay prayed up, do the right thing. Get your head out your butt, break the cycle, if you have to, especially if you come from a broken home or dysfunctional family, and do better and get your life right. That way you won't have to be going on boats fighting other people for no reason, turning out and showing out and cursing at folks and twerking and all that. Just saying. Well, that's all I got, folks. It's DJ Wolf.